Good morning, I'm KHU11 Meteorologist Chris Ramirez. This is our 4 a.m. update of the weather conditions across southeast Texas. We are looking at temperatures just 1 degree above freezing at Bush Airport, and winds are out of the northwest at 14 miles an hour, so it feels like it's 23 degrees outside. We are already starting to see some issues on roadways north and northwest of Houston. We were just watching this TransStar cam about a few minutes ago, and we did see a car spin out. Oh, look at that right there. You have some issues already at the I-69 at West Park. So we're already starting to see those issues starting to trickle in across our northern areas. And I believe as we look at the current conditions right now, the city of Houston is going to be split in half in terms of the freezing conditions and the ice accumulations and the plain old rain that's happening south of downtown Houston. And so some of the areas that we've seen some issues on do include the Grand Parkway, 290, even I-45, and you're already seeing freezing rain happening in those locations. So definitely we're at 32 degrees in Tomball. That is that magic number of freezing point out northwest of town. And so we're also looking at some issues on I-45 north, especially out in Shenandoah and the Woodlands area, as we are also at freezing out in Montgomery County. We're also looking at some lightning taking place. This is thunder sleet or thunder freezing rain that's happening currently right now. So this is pretty heavy precipitation that's currently ongoing across the northern portions of our viewing area. But just keep in mind that we are going to start seeing, the city of Houston is just at that border between freezing and not freezing. And so it's more than likely that we're going to start seeing those issues start trickling closer towards the city of Houston as we progress throughout the next hour or so. This is looking at the 69 Southwest at West Park. I'm not entirely sure if this was ice related, but we were looking at a camera that was north of town, and we did see a car spin out across I-45, and I believe it was State Highway 242 out in the Conroe or Shenandoah area, or south of Conroe. So we're starting to see those issues. If you are watching this and you are north of Houston, you are seeing those ice accumulations already starting to take place. This is actually looking at, I believe, right there at the West Park Tollway in Hillcroft. And so I'm going to go ahead and take off this to see what's happening. I think that's a vehicle that has believe at the exit ramp. Of course, this is an elevated roadway right here that veers off, I believe, towards the West Park Tollway, and it looks likely that we're seeing some issues with this vehicle that's currently happening right now. Looks like local officials there's a little bit of sparking going on with the officials. I'm not entirely sure if that was ice related. That has not been confirmed, but we're already starting to see some of those issues start trickling in closer towards the city of Houston. So definitely not a good idea to be out on those roadways right now at the current moment, or to go out and see what's going on, because we are just 1 degree above freezing. This is at Bush Airport, but it doesn't mean that we could still see freezing temperatures in other locations across town. This is also expecting to see some more of those issues take place at least through the rest of our morning. We are looking at temperatures at freezing. And so as we look at radar right now, this is going to continue at least throughout the next couple of hours. We still have a large swath of precipitation that is currently taking place west and north of Houston. And so we are expecting this to continue to be a problem in terms of the travel conditions. So it's one of those things that we've been telling you all within the past few days, that dangerous travel conditions expected here for the rest of Sunday morning across town. As we look at our future track, we are expecting this to continue to bring the freezing precipitation at least through the 5 to 6 a.m. hour. And then once we get closer towards 8, 9 o'clock, most of that freezing precipitation is going to be well off towards the east of the Houston area. We're just going to be about freezing, so anything that has fallen will have the opportunity to freeze over, especially when it comes to those elevated bridges and overpasses. We've seen quite a bit of vehicles on our Houston TransStar that are just speeding through those highways. Not really a good idea to do that right now, especially as we've already seen some crashes ongoing currently right now. So to prepare, just to stay safe ahead of the storm, you might want to just keep those mobile devices up charged, stay off the roads, and protect those exposed pipes if you haven't already. It's looking like that we're not looking at any power issues as of now or any quite significant ice accumulations, but it's the freezing rain that's going to cause issues for those elevated bridges and overpasses, especially within the next couple of hours. Temps are going to briefly be above freezing as we head into the afternoon hours. We will see some sunshine later on this afternoon, and that really could give an opportunity for things to start melting off briefly, but we will not really warm up all that much. We could see our northern area still be about the freezing point. Winter storm warning in effect until 6 a.m. Sunday. We are expecting also more of those widespread ice accumulations, more of a problematic situation for folks out in Huntsville, even Livingston, San Jacinto, Polk, Walker counties, likely to see more close to significant icing up to a half an inch. That is pretty bad in terms of what could potentially happen in terms of traveling, as well as the ice accumulations that could potentially be happening across the power lines. But extreme cold warning is in effect until Monday. We will see the coldest of these temperatures into the early hours of Monday. And so that means that the temps are going to be in the low 20s. But when you factor in those wind speeds, it's going to feel like between 5 and 15 degrees. And so you want to be protected and bundle up out there if you are exposed to these elements. This is what's taking place here across Texas. We still have some snow and some problem roadways across central Texas. Still have a large swath of precipitation now happening for the eastern portions of the state. Here across Houston, you still have all that to go on. So we have precip happening from Houston all the way towards the Austin area. So we're going to not really see the end of the precipitation until this clearing that's happening in Austin right now. That's going to be moving across towards us. So all this precipitation as well as that lightning moving off towards Houston, and that's when we're starting to see some of those issues starting to trickle in terms of the problematic roadways and the dangerous travel conditions that are taking place across town. And this is specifically for the northern portions of town. So looking closer towards our Transtar once again, we saw a crash happen. This is looking at I-45 North at 242. This is the one that we were watching as it happened. You had a vehicle moving in, speeding from, I don't know if they were speeding, that's unconfirmed, but they were moving at a fast rate of speed, and that they spun out there and hit the guardrail. Now you have emergency officials now along I-45 and State Highway 242. And so that's kind of going to show you that our areas north of town are starting to see some of those issues. And we also had another crash that we saw off of 290, of the Highway 290 area and the Grand Parkway. So definitely north of Houston, likely to start seeing some of those problems. So we are expecting those conditions to still be mostly wet for the city of Houston. We're seeing just wet roadways and rain, but we are just 1 degree above freezing. And so that is really going to, until those temperatures fall to about 32 is when we're going to start seeing some problems. And we are expected to fall to freezing here in the city of Houston, at least within the next 30 minutes to an hour. So precipitation across town, out towards Brenham, College Station. We did see those temps in the 20s and 30s, but you could, if you really traveling and leaving Houston, north or west of the city, not really recommended at the current moment right now, because we are seeing widespread winter weather all the way out towards San Antonio. We are seeing most of that precipitation in for San Antonio, but we're also looking at this along the major highways and across the eastern portions of the state. So definitely as we head into the next 7 days, we are expecting those conditions to remain mostly just bone-chilling cold, and you want to be just protected and bundle up out there if you do find yourself out in these elements. So 7-day forecast, highs about 35 for today, getting up to 40 for tomorrow afternoon, but we will be seeing that hard freeze criteria for the early hours of Monday. That is when we could see more of those pipe bursting type conditions for early hours of Monday. And that's when we are going to not see really so much of the precipitation for Monday, but it's the bone chilling pipe bursting temperatures that are expected into the early hours of Monday morning. And so we are expecting that to continue being a problem, especially as that precipitation and those temperatures continue to fall throughout the morning hours. And so as we look at the different precipitation types, we are not looking at snow here. You have to have the entire column of air to be at freezing for snow to occur. What we're looking at is mostly freezing rain. It's when we have a shallow cold air layer towards the surface. So it falls in the upper atmosphere as a liquid, as a raindrop, but then once it makes contact with any surfaces, it freezes on contact, and that really does cause ice accumulations. And we're already starting to see that with those bridges and overpasses just to the north of Houston, out in Montgomery County, even Cypress, as close as Cypress, and 45 out towards the Conroe area. So traveling not recommended right now, and we are looking at some issues that were trickling in, especially when it comes to our roadways. So for the most part, things are falling as mostly as rain here in Houston, but as we look at those cameras, we are starting to see some of those issues, especially on I-45 north out in the Conroe, Shenandoah area, and this was all thanks to the icy conditions that are on those overpasses. So this is the radar right now. We are just at 33 degrees at Bush Airport. We are right at that border of the freezing line, and you're able to see that on the precipitation radar, where you're seeing the pink colors, that is ice that's currently happening, where you see more of the purple colors, that's more of a sleet that's falling, and but definitely not seeing any snow showers, but we are expecting the northern and western portions just of the city are starting to see those temperatures fall to about freezing, and that's when we were expecting to see the issues start arising, especially as we progress through the morning. And so definitely stay safe out there and just stay inside as we are seeing those conditions starting to become a little bit problematic here for us in Southeast Texas. As far as your 7-day forecast, high temperatures, like I said, remaining very cold today, only getting up to 35, dropping to 32, and then we're going to be rebounding back into the 50s by the middle of the week. You will need your jackets for the next 7 days, but we are also expecting those conditions to remain mostly just cold, at least for the next 48 hours. And as always, to make sure to stay up to date with the latest weather forecast on KHOU.com and on the KHOU 11 app. And we'll be here on with continuous news coverage starting at 5 a.m. and that's in just in about an hour.